There is a crop growing in the highlands of West Africa right now that breaks every rule of modern agriculture. It contains the holy grail of nutrition, a complete protein profile with every essential amino acid humans need to survive. It creates its own fertilizer in soil that would starve other plants. It thrives in droughts that kill peanuts and scorch corn. And it does all of this without pesticides, without irrigation, and without a single purchased input. For over 1,000 years, it was the nutritional backbone of West African civilizations. Colonial agricultural departments documented it. They studied it. They measured its superiority in official reports. And then, they buried it. They classified it as a minor subsistence crop. They promoted peanuts and cotton for European export instead. They built an entire global agricultural system around crops that require the one thing this bean does not: dependency. Today, development agencies spend billions funding soybean programs that require massive chemical packages, while calling this plant neglected and underutilized. But it wasn't neglected. It was ignored on purpose. This is the story of Bambara groundnut, the nitrogen-fixing engine colonial powers tried to erase, the complete protein that survived in the hands of women farmers, and the dependency model that ensures you will never hear its name. Welcome to nature's lost vault. The story begins long before colonial officers arrived with clipboards and quotas. In the highlands of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria, farmers had already cultivated this crop for a millennium. The evidence is not just in the soil, it is in the language. The bean is named after the Bambara people of Mali. In agriculture, when a crop carries the name of an entire civilization, it is not a backup food. It is a foundation. From Ghana to Zimbabwe, communities integrated it into complex polycultures. Women farmers planted it between rows of millet and sorghum. They did not need a laboratory to tell them why. They observed that the grains grew taller next to the beans. They saw that the low vines shaded the soil, trapping moisture during the long, brutal dry seasons. They processed it into flour that could be stored for 3 years without refrigeration and without chemicals. In a region defined by the Harmattan winds and seasonal hunger, this wasn't just lunch, it was survival technology. But the most critical technology was inside the bean itself. Analysis reveals nutritional properties that are almost impossible to explain away. Most legumes are good, but they are incomplete, missing critical amino acids. Bambara groundnut ranges from 16 to 25% protein, which matches soybeans. Unlike soybeans, Bambara is a complete protein. To understand why this matters, you have to look at the chemistry of starvation. Cereals like maize and millet are full of energy, but they lack lysine. If you live on grain alone, you can starve with a full stomach because your body cannot build muscle or repair tissue. Bambara closes that gap. It has nearly double the lysine of cowpeas and chickpeas. It has double the tryptophan. It has 7 times the methionine of other legumes. When traditional farmers combined Bambara with millet, they created a nutritional profile approaching the quality of animal meat. The World Health Organization compared Bambara's amino acid profile to their ideal standard for human nutrition. Bambara did not just meet the standard. In many categories, it exceeded it. But here is the kicker. This bean also fixes nitrogen. Between 40 and 80 kilograms per hectare are deposited directly into the soil. Farmers who intercrop Bambara with millet see grain yields increase 20 to 30% without purchasing a single bag of fertilizer. So, if this plant provides complete protein, fixes its own nitrogen, and acts as an insurance policy against famine, why isn't it the cornerstone of global food security? Because in the 1920s, a choice was made. British and French colonial administrations were not in Africa to ensure local nutrition. They were there to extract resources for European industry. They needed oil for soap. They needed fat for margarine. They needed commodities that could be taxed, shipped, and processed in factories in Liverpool and Marseille. They looked at Bambara groundnut, and they saw a problem. Africans ate it. It was a subsistence crop. It stayed in the village, it fed the family, it generated no tax revenue for the crown and no raw material for the factory. So they looked at the peanut. Peanuts required more water, they were more susceptible to disease, but peanuts produced oil that could be exported. The French administration in Senegal built an entire economy around the peanut. They built rail lines to the ports specifically to move peanuts. They funded research stations to optimize peanuts. They distributed free seeds, not to help farmers, but to hook them into the export economy. And when labor became scarce after France formally abolished slavery in 1833, the peanut trade found a grim solution. Caravans continued to arrive from the interior with enslaved people. Instead of being sold across the Atlantic, they were bought by colonists to work peanut plantations. French officials wrote to their superiors about the delicate question of captives, warning that suppressing the supply would destroy farming everywhere. They prioritized the peanut trade over human freedom. By the 1940s, millions of acres of West African land had been converted to peanut monocultures. The result was a paradox. Regions exporting thousands of tons of crops began to suffer from protein deficiency. Colonial reports from the time document this. They noted that Bambara had superior drought tolerance. They noted it grew in sandy, degraded soil where peanuts failed. They admitted it was nutritionally superior. And then they stamped the file, not recommended for commercial development. They chose the crop that fed the factory over the crop that fed the people. But the suppression did not end with colonialism. It just changed logos. In the 1960s, the Green Revolution arrived with a new promise: modernize agriculture. But modernization meant a specific business model. It meant high-yield hybrid seeds that had to be bought every year. It meant synthetic fertilizers. It meant chemical pesticides. Bambara groundnut was a ghost in this machine. It represents a fundamental threat to the industrial agricultural model because it solves problems without a purchase order. Let us look at the balance sheet. The nitrogen threat. The global nitrogen fertilizer market exceeds $60 billion a year. Companies like Yara and Mosaic depend on farmers needing to buy nitrogen. Bambara groundnut fixes nitrogen for free. A farmer growing Bambara does not need to buy what they are selling. The patent threat. Bambara is an ancient land race. It belongs to the public domain. You cannot patent it. Seed companies like Bayer built empires on patented varieties that farmers must purchase annually. Bambara seeds from the last harvest work perfectly. No annual revenue, no control. The chemical threat. The global pesticide market is over $70 billion a year. But Bambara evolved in the region. It has natural resistance to local pests and diseases that decimate introduced crops like imported soybeans. Every advantage that makes Bambara valuable to a poor farmer makes it worthless to a multinational corporation. So, for 50 years, the research money went elsewhere. Institutes spent tens of millions developing soybeans for Africa, a crop that struggled with the climate and required expensive inputs. Meanwhile, Bambara received almost zero funding. There were fewer than 10 improved varieties in 50 years, while soybeans received over 100. Development agencies called it neglected. But it was not neglected by the people. While the World Bank funded fertilizer loans and export schemes, the women of West Africa kept the seeds alive. In Burkina Faso, in Mali, in northern Ghana, women farmers refused to abandon the crop. They understood what the scientists ignored. Yield does not matter if the crop dies when the rain stops. And the rains are stopping. Climate change is exposing the absurdity of the industrial model. Across the Sahel, rainfall is becoming erratic. The input-dependent crops, the maize, the soy, the peanuts, are failing. They were bred for a stability that no longer exists. Bambara groundnut was bred for chaos. It produces a harvest with as little as 300 millimeters of rain. Peanuts need 500. Soybeans need 600. Bambara tolerates temperatures up to 35 degrees Celsius. It produces yields in soil so poor that other legumes wither. Now suddenly, the scientific community is scrambling. Universities are publishing papers on climate-smart crops. The Food and Agriculture Organization is holding conferences on future foods. They are looking for exactly what Bambara offers. But notice what is still not happening. There is no massive rollout of Bambara seed programs. There are no subsidies for farmers who switch to it. Why? Because the debt trap is part of the design. Modern development aid often works through loans. African nations borrow money to subsidize fertilizers and improved seeds from Western corporations. The loans create dependency. The debt creates markets. The dependency creates perpetual revenue. A crop that requires no inputs generates no debt. And a crop that generates no debt generates no leverage. Bambara groundnut is freedom from that system. It is food sovereignty in its purest form. It allows a community to produce complete protein, improve their soil, and store food for 3 years without writing a check to Bayer, without taking a loan from the World Bank, and without purchasing nitrogen from Yara. That is the danger. That is why it was buried. The colonial officers knew it. The development agencies know it. And the women farmers of West Africa never forgot it. Today, there is a quiet resurgence. You can find Bambara flour in Lagos. You can find roasted Bambara snacks in Accra. The knowledge survived the suppression. Every farmer who plants a seed of Bambara is proving that the industrial model is not the only way. They are proving that you don't need to poison the soil to feed the village. They are proving that the most advanced agricultural technology isn't a genetically modified patent from a lab. It's a seed that evolved for 1,000 years to survive the very conditions we are facing now. The bean that sustained civilizations is still here. It is still fixing nitrogen. It is still fighting malnutrition. And it is still waiting for the world to realize that the solution to hunger isn't sold in a bag. It grows for free. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve the knowledge they spent decades trying to erase. Some plants are too nutritious to control. Some seeds are too valuable to patent. And some knowledge is too powerful to suppress forever. The next vault opens soon.